Yo, yo, yo. Good morning, freedom marchers, freedom family, freedom lovers, freedom fighters. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are y'all doing? I'm back at y'all to go over this really quickly. And I don't want to belabor the point. I don't want to belabor it because it shouldn't take a lot of explaining. Of explaining to convey the importance of the fact that Donald Trump and his DOJ is trying to find ways to ban Transformers from owning firearms. Salute to Queen Sister Shawa. Salute to you this morning. Welcome in, Queen. How you doing today? It shouldn't take a lot to explain why this is a problem. Stray Godzilla, salute to you this morning. It shouldn't take a lot of explaining because it is a problem, okay? Now, there have been a series of mass situations involving transgender individuals, okay? Involving transgender individuals. The latest having occurred in, I forgot where that was. I covered it a few days ago. I covered it last week or so. The bottom line is this. Donald Trump would have you guys believe he is a pro-2A president, that he is a pro-gun right president, when he really is not. The idea that the Department of Justice under Donald Trump would try to find a way to prohibit a specific group of people from owning a firearm based on the actions of a few select individuals is so out of the realm of constitutionality, since we love to use that so much, since the MAGA people love to use that word, and since the pro-Trumpers, they love the Constitution so much. I mean, it's completely ridiculous, right? The man told you he would protect the Second Amendment or protect our rights to keep and bear arms. And because of the actions of a few people, he wants to ban the ownership of firearms to an entire group of people. Now, how does one go about doing that? Anyway, how does one go about doing that? If you identify as a gender that you were not born as, but you don't go around broadcasting it, or you simply do not decide to officially change your gender, how would they even find out? How would they know about it? Let me tell you why this is a horrible, slippery slope. It's a horrible, slippery slope because you would need a registry. You would need a registry. That means, let's say someone decides to go through with actually changing their sex. They would have to be put on a registry. They would have to be reported. They would have to be put in the NICS system as being a prohibited person. Registries are a problem. Registries in regards to gun ownership are illegal, even though they do that anyway, right? We know that the ATF has some type of registry. We know that the ATF has been going to, they have been going to gun dealers and doing these audits and taking pictures of documentation, private ownership documentation of individuals that have purchased firearms from those gun dealers. The government has been going and collecting information on individuals who bought firearms. This is a clear violation. But Oh, salute to brother Drew Titan in the building, and brother Shelton. Salute to y'all. Yes, Minnesota. Yes, Minnesota. That's where it happened. His name was Robin Westman. And you know what? When I talked about that situation, the mad situation with Robin Westman, and how he committed self-deletion, it brought to mind Robin Williams. Okay. Now this is a wild, completely out of left field kind of thought process, but Robin Westman is transgender, right? He was transgender. He's born as a man and thought he was a woman, or whatever the case may be. Robin Williams deleted himself as well, not under the same circumstances, but Robin Williams played a man who cross-dressed in a movie. I just thought that was interesting. Anyway, Robin Westman, Robin Williams, you know, whatever. Robin Williams was obviously in a bad mental space. He was on medication. Robin Westman was on medication as well for gender dysphoria, and he wasn't on his meds. I just think it was just very interesting, the parallels there. The bottom line is, do I agree with the lifestyle of a transgender person? I don't agree with it, right? I think there is some mental issues there. You know, I'm not a mental health professional, but I do think there is something going on mentally and emotionally with these individuals that have them believing that they are something they're not. A lot of it has to do with childhood trauma, childhood sexual trauma, a lot of it. If you dive deep into these people's histories, they have been horribly mistreated by adults in their life. And I don't agree with the lifestyle, but I do understand there's something to that. There's something deeper, right? But when it comes to taking the actions of a few individuals and using their actions to violate the rights of everyone else in that people group, I have a problem with that more so than the lifestyle of a transgender person. Particularly when it comes to the government and their overreach. Because if you take that same logic and you apply it and you reverse it toward the government, they don't want that, right? They don't want you to take the actions of a few pigs and apply it to the entire police force, so to speak. Like a few bad apples, they shouldn't spoil the bunch, right? If we take the behaviors of some of these police officers who are power hungry pieces of shit and they go around terrorizing people, if we take the actions of those few police officers and we say, you know what, ACAB, if we go with the ACAB narrative, then we get all kind of pushback, right? If you take the actions of a few government officials that get caught up in scandals, right? They get caught with their hands in a cookie jar, selling their people down the river. Like, for instance, not even just politicians. Let's talk about the judges. The judges in New York that sold thousands and thousands of people to these private prisons, right? Got paid by private prisons to administer harsh sentences to young people that didn't necessarily need to be sentenced what they were sentenced for. Imagine if I take those few judges that, you know, that did that. They got caught with that level of impropriety. What if I say, you know what? All judges are bad. We should prohibit all judges from being able to perform their duties. Does that make sense? Does that make sense at all whatsoever? No, it doesn't make sense on the face of it, right? Because not all judges are corrupt. Not all politicians are corrupt, right? Not all police officers are bad cops. But we want to take that logic and apply it to a people group that don't have any level of power. You see how this is how they do things, right? They say, well, you know what? No one's really going to have a problem. MAGA is not going to have a problem with us trying to find a way to stop transgenders from owning firearms. They're not going to have a problem with that because they're going to have a problem with the transgender lifestyle, period. So they're not really going to care. Well, I tell you what, if you're MAGA and you think it's okay to do this, then you're mentally retarded. Sister Shower, salute to you. Chance Brown, okay. Coach Hudson's in the building. I heard that, Coach Hudson. John Tooney says our VP dresses like a woman. Yeah. So are we gonna ban JD Vance from being able to own a firearm? How are we gonna do this? Clarence Thomas, is Clarence Thomas a cross-dresser? I don't know about that. Kangar J says always transparency when it comes to citizens, but government, they're mostly immune to consequences. Of course they are. The government would not be able to operate like they do if they didn't have a certain level of immunity, right? If the government wouldn't be able to operate without being hypocrites. They would not be able to. If they were held to the same standard they hold us to, then the turnover rate would be so ridiculous that you would not be able to keep the government going. Yes, many of them do have a secret side, right? But transgenders are who they are, right? Whether they believe they're that way because of childhood trauma, or because it's a fad, or because they're homosexual and they just want to be a woman, or they want to be a man, whatever the case may be, if they are not violating anyone, if they are not committing crimes against other people, then we should not be looking to ban anybody from owning any firearms. The fact of the matter is, you don't know who shouldn't own a firearm until they do something that shows you they shouldn't own a firearm. Does that make sense? They have to commit an action. Unfortunately, that's how the world works. You don't know when someone's going to do something bad until they do something bad. Or unless you catch them doing something bad. You get what I'm saying? Ain't nobody want to be mentally mature. Right. Lone Husky, salute to you. Common looks like this man. Okay. Man, y'all are interesting individuals. So, you don't know when somebody's going to do a bad thing until they do a bad thing. It makes no logical sense whatsoever. If we allow, really it's not we allow, right? Because they're going to do whatever the fuck they want to do anyway, whether we allow it or not. Because we have already given our consent to be governed. Yes, Common is older than me. Not very much older than me. Feel by mentally ill people getting pew-pews. What define mentally ill? You know, and this is why we have to be careful. I wish Queen Sister Cameron was in here. This is why we have to be careful when it comes to mental illness. Because anybody can be diagnosed with a mental illness nowadays. Anybody, think about autism. When back in my day, I don't know if you guys ever watched that movie, The Witness. There's a movie called The Witness about this Amish kid who witnessed the murder, right? And then Harrison Ford, he was a detective and went into this Amish community to try to find out who murdered who. I forgot exactly what happened. But The Witness, I think the kid was autistic. The kid was obviously autistic. Back in the day, if you were autistic, you was motherfucking autistic. Wasn't no spectrum. Wasn't no spectrum because There's very specific things that would determine whether or not you're autistic, right? No eye contact. You have these idiosyncrasies. You're annoyed by easily. You rock back and forth. It's very specific. You're socially incompetent, but you might be very intelligent. You might be a savant to some degree. You might be a mathematician, and you might have a obsessive compulsive disorder to an extreme degree. Which question did you ask, American Dying Slowly? What do I think about the Patriots Act? The Patriot Act, it was trash. That was the worst piece of legislation. When they passed the Patriot Act, you should you kiss your privacy goodbye. That's all it is to it. The Patriot Act was trash. We had to be careful about mental illness, because anybody can be diagnosed with the mental illness nowadays. Let's say you're going through a spate of depression. You might have lost your job. A lot of bad things are happening at one time, and you are going through it. You might have suicidal ideations. Like, man, it would just be easier if I just didn't exist right now. You might have those thoughts. And if you express those thoughts to a mental health professional, they could easily diagnose you with something. But back in the day, what were you told? Man, suck that shit up. Get over it. Get over it. Life happens to people. So when it comes to mental illness, you got to be careful, because now that they are able to diagnose so many people, don't be surprised when the day comes when they broaden when they broaden the scope of who can and cannot own a firearm based on a mental illness. That's one thing we have to be careful about. Because right now, in most cases, a judge has to basically say, right, it has to be a court-ordered situation where a judge declares that you are mentally, you are a danger to yourself and others, and therefore you can't own a firearm. Right now, it's up to the judges. In some states, they got these red flag laws where your teacher, or a teacher at your kid's school, your coworker, the grocery store owner down the street, anybody could initiate a red flag order against you. And there you have it. It's a wrap. We can't allow, right? We can't allow these things to occur to any group of people, because they will use it against you. They will use it against all people. They already prohibit certain firearms from all people, unless you go through, the NFA, right? The National Firearm Act. You'd have to get a tax stamp. You pay $200. You go through an extensive background check, right? If you want to get a sound suppressor, you want to get a fully automatic weapon, you want to get all these different things. Shit that you should not have to pay taxes for. Shit that you should not have to go through a background check for. Hell, you already have to go through a federal background check to buy a firearm, a regular ass firearm. Yeah, you might say, oh, it's just a 5-minute background check. Well, that's a violation. Point blank and period. See, we have allowed them to do these things because, well, this guy down the street that I don't even know, he committed this horrible crime. That guy committed a horrible crime. That guy went into a school. That guy shot up the block. Yeah, a few guys do this. A few people might commit these crimes. They might shoot people. They might kill people. They might murder people. But why are we adding extras to it? It's already illegal to murder somebody. It's already illegal to rob someone. It's already illegal to assault somebody. It's already illegal to burglarize somebody and damage people's property. Okay, we already have that established. It's not right to murder. It's not right to rob people. It's not right to steal from people. It's not right to damage someone's property. It's not right to violate someone's privacy. None of these things are right. Well, then why are we violating people for using a certain tool that could be used to commit these crimes? Does that make sense to y'all? Okay, this guy murdered that guy. Okay, well, how did he do it? He did it with a firearm. Okay. Well, we're not only going to violate him for murdering somebody, we are going to now prohibit other people from owning the tool he used to do it. And if they get caught, whether they're committing a crime or not, if they just get caught with the gun, if they get caught with the tool or the firearm, we're going to violate them because some other guy used the same type of tool to cause harm to somebody. Does that make fucking sense? Does that make sense to y'all? See, this is a way for the Trump administration to violate people's rights slowly but surely, but make it look like they're not violating your rights because you're not transgender. You ain't got to worry about it. Well, that's the problem. What did Shelton say? Yes, mental health cases are increasing, but the psych wards are being closed down all over. Yes, they are. What the hell? Shelton says he had ADHD and my medicine was a belt to that. Exactly. Everybody had ADHD. I had ADHD when I was a kid. Was I diagnosed with it? No. But by the time I became an adult, this whole ADHD thing came about. I was dating a chick that had a kid. He was diagnosed with ADHD. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I think I was 18, 19? Chick I was dating, 24 years old, had a son that was diagnosed with ADD. I was like, what the fuck is that? What is that? Attention deficit disorder. So I'm watching this kid and I'm like, I'm trying to see what they mean. Like, how does someone get diagnosed with ADHD? The kid was just very energetic. He wanted to run around and do things. He wanted to play. He wanted to go outside. He didn't want to sit down for long stretches of time. He's a fucking kid. I'm like, what? So I guess I must have had ADHD because I was doing the same shit. I was in the backyard tearing shit up. I was throwing shit in my neighbor's yard. I was running around the neighborhood, breaking into abandoned houses, breaking windows. I was playing ding dong ditch. We was riding around on bicycles with no helmets, going up and riding down the hills towards busy ass streets on a bike with no helmet and just go in oncoming traffic. We were just doing shit as children. Playing football in the street, baseball, running around, fighting every day. It was just what kids did. What question did you ask American is dying slowly? What question did you ask? Yes, Can't Guard J, that's another thing. Just because someone is mentally ill doesn't mean they're automatically a psychopath. Exactly, but guess what? Yeah, this thing is, hold on. Guess what? They're not going to care. If you allow, because here's the thing, they're pushing transgenderism as a mental illness, right? Because the idea is the person that's transgender thinks they're a woman trapped in a man's body or a man trapped in a woman's body. They literally think that. They think, well, they don't think it's a mental illness. But the conservatives, they think it's a mental illness. And certain mental health professionals think it's a mental illness. They call it gender dysphoria. Coach Hudson said very strange mental health cases. Oh, my bad. You already read that. Maggot is Mac at the South. Salute to you, brother. Let me go ahead and rich you up. Think about this, though, y'all. A transgender. Okay, I'm a little behind, y'all. What about non-binary? A conservative would consider a non-binary a transgender. They don't care. They don't care. If you say you're non-binary, they'll call you transgender. If they say if you think you're a furry, if you think you're a rabbit, they'll call you a transgender. It doesn't matter. They don't care about. All right. All right. All right. All right. I should be back, y'all. Boy, oh boy. Now, they said my phone overheated. Yeah, they said my phone got too hot. It's like 75 degrees outside. It's not hot at all. I don't know. But am I back up? Can y'all hear me? All right, salute. I appreciate that. Now, here's the thing, right? Gender dysphoria is basically gender confusion. It's you think that you are something that you're not. You can't hear me? Give me a Romeo Lima Charlie if you guys can actually hear me. If you guys can hear me, when you put up, you have to cover the phone, the back of the phone. All right, great. I'm cutting in and out. I got to make this quick. There we go. I got the air conditioner right now. Here's the problem, man. Gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria basically is, let's say you're born a man, and then you're adulthood or whatever age you are, you believe that you're. Oh yeah, the air. I got it up kind of high. Hold on. Pardon the unprofessionalism. All right, pardon the unprofessionalism. Y'all had to. There we go. That should be better. And I want to leave you guys with this because I want us to understand what we're talking about. Hold on. I think I don't know if it's me or if the lens is greasy. I don't know, man. There we go. My bad, y'all. So, the man, myself, who sounds like a crying dim, are going to explain to you. There's a guy in here that says I sound like a crying dim, and it's only because Donald Trump and Donald Trump's DOJ is trying to ban transgenders from owning firearms. Okay? Now, if it were the Democrats trying to prevent veterans from owning firearms like they've done in the past, they put it in these spending bills, right? They put it in budget bills where they say, well, if a veteran is trying to get financial assistance or they need assistance with their finances, they shouldn't own a firearm. That type of bullshit, right? Yeah, they'd be crying. And when they tried to do that, guess who spoke out on it? I did. Those years ago, when they were trying to, at first, I think it was Donald Trump who issued an executive order to stop that, right? Stop the prohibition on veterans owning firearms if they needed assistance from the VA, financial assistance. Donald Trump used an executive order to get rid of that, and Joe Biden tried to bring it back. But nonetheless, they tried to add it into a budget. Clear violation. When they did that, I spoke out against it. Anyway, gender dysphoria is what, like I said, they say it's It's when you think you're a gender that you're not. Now, if a few of these people that have gender dysphoria, they go around and they start slaughtering people, and we try to ban an entire group of people that have this gender confusion from owning a firearm, it's a clear violation, because these other transgenders aren't committing these crimes. They're not doing this. So what you need to do is, when a person commits a crime, whether they use a gun, a hammer, a knife, you punish that person. You understand what I'm saying? You don't ban the tool. If you ban the tool, you get what you get in England, you get what you get in New Zealand, you get what you get in Australia, you get what you get in Canada, and you get what they're trying to get here. They're trying to, you know why they always love to talk about these places. Oh, look at Australia. Look how lovely that place is. Look how lovely New Zealand is. Look how lovely the UK is. Look how lovely all these countries are that have completely banned firearms to the point where you can only own a 6-shooter. They talk about those places, right? But they don't tell you how they're trying to ban blades now. Or they're trying to ban knives. They're trying to ban hammers. They're trying to ban sharp-edged tools, because there are killing sprees that they are doing with these goddamn these tools. Where does it stop? Where it doesn't stop, because if you allow them to ban firearms for a certain group of people, it's not going to stop them from doing it when Democrats are in power. What if they say, okay, you let that happen to the transgender? This is how they work together. Oh, you let this happen to the trans? Okay. Well, when the next president comes along, it's a Democrat. What if he says, you know what? There was a mass situation where a whining Republican wrote a manifesto and was complaining about black people, Spanish immigrants, and small hats. Okay, what if the next president says, okay, I'm going to issue an executive order where white conservatives can't own firearms? What was it? Oh, you're a Republican? What if they say, okay, y'all let this happen to the transgender, we're going to let this happen to every registered Republican. No registered Republican can own a firearm. No, not just MAGA. You're not very bright. You're basically a moron. Okay, anyway, so what if that happened? You don't think that could happen? Well, they already banned firearms for everybody. They already banned specific firearms for everyone because a few idiots used it during a crime, right? Like in California, they banned assault weapons because any tool that you use to assault somebody is an assault weapon. All right? So they use these broad terms so that they can arbitrarily add what they want to the list. Right? So, in California, they banned assault weapons because a few idiots used a rifle to kill people. Okay. Well, what was an assault weapon to them? An assault weapon was any black semi-automatic rifle that you could change the magazine out with the push of a button. Oh, a magazine release. A standard magazine release. You push the button, the magazine comes out. You put a new magazine in there. See how arbitrary that is? You think it's random, but it's not. Reagan didn't ban assault weapons. He banned open carry. He pushed for the Mulford Act, in California when he was a California governor. I think it's called the Mulford Act. I forgot, because Black Panthers did an open carry protest at the Capitol, and they didn't like that shit. But there was nothing they could do about it because it was legal. It was legal. So what did they do? They banned open carry in the entire state. No one could open carry any longer in California because Black Panthers were exercising their right to keep and bear arms. So they didn't just say, "Oh, black folks can't open carry." They said nobody in the entire fucking state. So you don't think they'll use this to further expand their overreach and further reduce our rights? If you're okay with transgenders being banned, they can't own a firearm, then you might as well go take your shit to just give your shit away. Matter of fact, take it to that prison so they can melt it down and turn it into license plates. You might as well go ahead. You might as well volunteer for a registry. You might as well turn your shit in. You might as well give up all your ammunition. Because they know y'all hate transgenders. And they know that you're not going to care if you ban a transgender owning a firearm. It's fucking retarded. The idea, even presenting this as a possibility, makes no fucking sense. Shawa says, like Hicks said, if they do it to one, it opens up to happen to anyone. Yes. And who was that? Martin Luther King said. Huckleberry Finn. Yeah. You talking about? Is that what you talking about? Y'all, most of y'all don't know about Huckleberry Finn. Salute to Jut. Martin Luther King said, an injustice to anyone anywhere is an injustice to everyone everywhere. You let this happen because in your mind, transgenders are abominations, whatever you want to believe. They're abominations, they're this, they're that. Then guess what? Somebody with body dysmorphia, somebody that thinks their body looks worse than it actually is. Somebody that, like bodybuilders. A lot of bodybuilders suffer from body dysmorphia. That's why they take performance enhancing drugs to improve their look, because they don't think they look good enough. They can never be ripped enough. They can never be low body fat percentage enough. You don't think that's a mental illness? You look at 90% of people, 99, you look better than 99% of people. Your body, the way you look more fit, but you don't think it's enough. You think you look fat when you have 7 or 8% body fat percentage. Why do you think that? Bodybuilders are concerned with competition. They also have these unrealistic expectations of themselves. They also believe in something that doesn't exist. They believe that they are fatter than they are. They call that They call that body dysmorphia. It is a mental illness. It's not the same thing, right? I'm not trying to present any false comparisons or but it's close enough, right? So we're basically saying, if you appear to have a mental illness, then you should not be able to own a firearm. Well, just because you have a mental illness does not mean that you're going to go around harming others, right? You just because you have some type of issue going on. Jeff Meyer says skip dessert. Shawa says there are policemen and government officials walking around tooled up. Do you question? No, they're not going to question it. Well, what qualifies that police officer? Why is the police officer more qualified to own a firearm than you? Let's think about what a police officer goes through, and let's apply that to everyone across the board. You do the things that a police officer does to get a firearm, then no one should ever bother you ever again, right? No one should fuck with you. No one should fuck with you. Okay. Police officers, not only can they own a firearm, they have qualified immunity. They have certain powers they can exercise that you can't, right? They're held to a lower standard than the civilian population, but they have so much power. Okay, let's say we do what a police officer does, but we don't become police officers. Do we get the same privileges? Which group of people, which demographic, professional demographic, has the most domestic violence cases in America? The most domestic violence cases in America. Who has the number one amount? Insane talk, salute to you. It's in the amendment of the Constitution that we can own a firearm equally. Yes. Oh, there's no qualified immunity in Denver? That's good. Yes. Cops and firefighters. Cops are higher than firefighters, but yes. Police officers commit the most domestic violence of any other professional demographic in this country. But no one tells them, no one says, all right, let's ban police officers from owning firearms. No one says that. No one says, okay. The most domestic violence cases that occur in the United States, whether there's a conviction from it or not, that's a different story. Because these police officers, of course, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt, right? Their brothers are going to look out for them. Their brothers and sisters in blue. The blue wall of silence is going to help them out. But the most cases come from police officers. So let's say, okay, well, what does that mean to me? That means to me that they're more likely to harm or kill their domestic partners. So should we ban all police officers from owning a firearm? How would that look? We got to be even across the board, right? It's that slippery slope I'm talking about. No, it's not combat vets. It's not combat vets. Not at all. Not at all whatsoever. Because if a combat vet gets caught committing domestic violence, they might get executed. The Uniform Code of Military Justice don't play when it comes to that type of shit. The Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, the soldiers are held at a different standard, especially if they get caught. Of course, not every police officer, but that's what I'm saying. Not every transgender is going to commit a mass situation. Now you get my point. Again, do I agree with transgenderism? No, I don't. As a lifestyle, hell no. Do I agree with rainbow activity? Hell no. But I'm not going to sit up here and say, I'm more inclined to go with the idea of banning transgenders from entering the opposite bathroom than owning a firearm. I'm more inclined to go with that. I'm more inclined to go with that because of the circumstances surrounding it. Yes, the UCMJ, Coach Hudson. If you tie your shoelaces, your bootlaces, right over left instead of left over in the military, you can get time for that. If you have sex doggy style with your wife and people find out, you can go to jail. You can get locked up. You can go to Leavenworth for that. If you cheat on your wife, or if your wife cheats on you, yeah, either one of y'all asses can go to jail for that. You know what I'm saying? So listen, no, it's not soldiers. What is transgenderism? I want you to try to put that together in your mind and see what that is. You used to get stoned. Let me tell you something. If you desert during wartime, you will get a summary execution in the military. If you desert, they call it desertion during wartime if you go AWOL. Anyway, you're wrong. He is talking about transgenders that are on suicide medication. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what he's talking about. What is suicide medication? You know what? Let me look that up. What is suicide medication? Is there a category of medication called suicide medication? Let me look that up since we want to go there. Kelly Rogers asked if I was in the military. Yes, I was. Yes. Okay. What is suicide medications? What are suicide medications? Because that's a new one on me. Is that a medication that helps you commit suicide? What is a suicide medication? Now, I appreciate that at the end. Antidepressants. Okay. Do they give antidepressants? Do they give antidepressants only to people who want to commit suicide? Psychotropics. Are psychotropics only for people who want to commit suicide? I told you that Robin Westman, the last transgender mass situationer, was on medication. I told you guys that. Obviously, if you are a transgender and you have confusion about your gender and you're seeing a psychiatrist, that is the best and easiest way to make sure you don't get a firearm, because they'll put you in the NICS system. They'll put you in NICS. That's why I was asking earlier, how do they know if you are transgender? If you don't have any record of it, if you're not going around, like, how do they know? You would have to be put in a system by a professional that updates the NICS system. Are you guys aware that these state-appointed psychiatrists and people like that, that's what they do? Or if you have a psychiatrist that can add you to that, that's why I said you would have to be registered. There would have to be some type of registry that would recognize you as a transgender in order for them to put you in the NICS system. Trans shouldn't own guns. Why not, Gabriel? I'm not seeing anything called a suicide medication. I'm not seeing that. Now I'm seeing pharmacologic approaches to suicide prevention, but I don't think there's anything specifically made for people who want to commit suicide. They are called antidepressants and whatnot. SSRIs. Syringe individual liberty trans fire ever. Trans shouldn't be allowed to be around children either. Well, I will say this. Trans should not be around children promoting their behavior. I'll say that. Right? So if you're transgender and you're around children, you should not be espousing pro-transgender shit or pro-rainbow shit around children. I will say that. Now, if you're a trans and you ain't pushing that shit on my kids and you mind your own goddamn business, and you not just kids in general, If you are around children and you can keep your, because just like me, what I go around, I don't go around children talking about my sexuality. Like, oh, I love me some good wet vagina. What about you, Jimmy? Little Timmy. When you get older, oh man, you're gonna run into you some good coochie. No, I don't know. No one should be promoting any sexual anything to children. What you do is the parents are responsible for making their children aware of sexuality. The parents. Anybody that violates that, it doesn't matter, trans, homo, straight, don't be talking about no sexual shit around my. Give me a Romeo Lima Charlie. If y'all can hear me. I got a phone call come in. But think about it. Adults should not be. Adults that are not the parents. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Adults that are not the parents of the child should not be doing any type of sexual talk outside of education in terms of sex ed. When I went to sex ed, wasn't nobody talking about booty holes. Wasn't nobody talking about none of that shit. They talked about protection, right? They talked about diseases. They talked about the organs. They talked about how the reproductive system worked. But they were not running around talking about, yeah, you can stick this, you can take this banana and stick it up your bunghole, and oh, this is how you use sex toys, and oh, look at this book. Go read this book about little Jimmy wanting to suck off little Timmy. No, there wasn't none of that going on. No, I don't care who you is and what you identify as. You are not going to be pushing no type of sexual shit onto my children. That is my responsibility to bring awareness to them about their sexuality, just in terms of what they may be feeling at a certain age. I got daughters that are teenagers now, and I leave that to my wife to talk to them about that. I let my wife discuss within those situations. My wife, and that's it. I don't talk to my daughters about sexual activity, because guess what? My wife knows about sex. Obviously, we have 6 kids together. So if my wife knows about sex, big shit 215, salute to you. Dropping that $5 super chat on your boy. I appreciate you. My wife can take care of that. And with my son walking around getting hard and all. Guess what? Little boys get hard when they're little babies, just randomly. But I don't talk to them about it then. I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is. But when they come to a certain age, 11, 12, 13, you got to start talking to them. Listen, son, I know it feels good to hump the pillow, but I need you to relax. Don't be humping the pillow in front of your mama. You chill on that. Don't be humping your mama's leg. No, you need to chill on that, bro. Like, now you coming into an age where you having these feelings. You are attracted to girls for whatever reason you think. Then you can explain it to them as the father. And then I leave it up to the school to give them education about how their organs work in relation to what sex does and the sperm going into the egg and all that other shit. But I no, transgender, I don't care who it is. Salute to big shit though. I don't know why y'all keep asking me if I'm black. I don't know why y'all care about that so much. Why do y'all care if I'm black? I don't understand. James says anyone in state of delusional thinking should not have a gun. Well, how do you know if someone is delusional? And define delusional. To what degree of delusion should someone not have a gun? K-Cal says I look Latino. Okay. I mean, I don't mind y'all asking me I just don't understand why it's important. What if I'm black or not. Because if I tell you I'm black, like I've done before, all y'all gonna, oh, you ain't black. I'm talking to you when I'm a white man. I don't want to. What's the point? Anyway, when someone sees it and accepts something as a reality, that is in fact visually not a reality. Well, James, that's too broad. That's too broad, because there are people that believe in the Sky Daddy. So should anyone that believes in the Sky Daddy not have a gun? What I mean, there are a lot of people that believe in Jesus, but no one's ever seen Jesus. No one alive today. People say they talk to Jesus every day. They talk to God, but do they actually see God and hear God? From what I understand, if you actually heard the voice of God, your head would explode. So should Christians not own fire? Make it make sense. Like this is where we get into the ridiculousness of this. People believe in Jesus, so should they not own firearms? Like, help me understand. Where do we stop? Where does it stop? I talked about body dysmorphia earlier, lizard lady. So should anyone who has body dysmorphia not be able to own a firearm? This is what I'm talking about. Because no one's going to show you that they shouldn't own a firearm until they show you why they shouldn't own a firearm. Well, how do you deal with the violence then? How do you deal with gun violence? Well, an armed society is a polite society. Empower yourself. And if you are a so-called leader, if you're a so-called government leader and you care about your people, you should be encouraging people to arm themselves and empower themselves, to defend themselves against someone that will do harm to them. You should be working to remove all these retarded gun control laws that inhibit people from defending themselves by any means necessary. Donald Trump has the ability to get rid of all these gun controls right now. All these gun control laws. All he has to do is write an executive order calling out the unconstitutionality of every gun control law. He can do it with an executive. He is the executive branch leader. They enforce laws. So guess which law supersedes every single gun control law all over the country? 18 U.S. Code 241, 18 U.S. Code 242. That gives him the power to use his executive powers to get rid of every gun control law. That's all he has to do. He doesn't want to do that, though, does he? No, they want to find ways. They want to find creative ways to ban guns for people. Donald Trump has the power right now. Yes, J. Mark, I am ex-military. Mentally ill can't legally own guns. Where'd you get that from, Kevin Dwyer? That's not a reality. The Second Amendment was misinterpreted just like supposedly the 14th was. How was the Second Amendment misinterpreted? Criminals own guns all the time. There's a black market for criminals to buy guns without going through a background check, without registering their firearm, they don't even have to have a serial number. The serial number is filed off. The black market will always provide for what is prohibited to the civilian population. If those things exist, the black market will provide it, even if it's prohibited. Every single time. Trump said, exactly, Shaw, it is 100%. Trump said in his last term to take the guns first and worry about their rights. Yeah, he said, matter of fact, he said, I believe in take the guns first, due process second. That should tell you everything you need to know about how Donald Trump feels about your Second Amendment rights. Come check Canadian laws. No, I'm aware of how horrible Canadian gun laws are. It's horrible. Second Amendment wasn't meant for Americans to have similar. What are you talking about, James Arnold? You have no idea what you're talking about. What does that mean? The right to keep and bear arms. It doesn't matter what the arm is. Guess what? A semi-automatic rifle is an arm. A cannon is an arm. A knife is an arm. Armament, whether it fires projectiles, or it's a melee weapon, or it's a stabbing weapon, or it's a cutting weapon. Arms. It doesn't matter what the arm is. You know why they said arms and not muskets? Do you know why they said arms and not repeating rifles? Because they knew that there were advances in weapons technology, and they wanted to cover the entire basis. You know what an arm is? A claymore mine is an arm. A miklik is an arm. They just use it to create trenches. You know what a miklik is? It's basically explosive. They roll it out and they create trenches from it. And you know, you throw it on the ground, and you want to have a nice fast trench to bunker down in when you're going to face the enemy. You can use a miklik. You roll it on across, you blow it up, it blows a big ass trench in the ground. That's an arm. A grenade is an arm. Exactly, Kangar J. And guess what? People were able to own these things. There were private people. There were private citizens that had cannons. There were privateers out in the oceans, out in the seas. They had cannons on their ships. They were private. They were privateers. They weren't government officials. But guess what? They had pirates that were trying to rob them, so they were able to have cannons on their ships to defend themselves against pirates. Cannons are arms. So when you say it wasn't meant for us to own semi-automatic rifles, it does. I mean, it was meant to cover every single arm. It doesn't matter what the arm was. Anyone with a little common sense knows civilians shouldn't be owning. No, James Arnold. Anybody with a little common sense knows that every able-bodied individual needs to own a semi-automatic rifle. Yes, Kangar J, most Second Amendment red states don't allow it. You have to get a license for it. You got to go through a background check. You got to go through an NFA. And 9 times out of 10, if you want to have explosive devices or whatever the case may be, like a AT4 or something like that, it has to be on a goddamn firing range where people can come and rent the things. You know what I'm saying? Like in certain states, you can go, like in Las Vegas, you can fire Gatling guns and AT4s and all that type of stuff. But you have to go to the range to do it. But the owners of that range had to go through the NFA to do so. They had to go through the whole process. Yes, an armed society is a polite society. Everyone should own a firearm as long as they're of sound mind. And you're not going to know if they're not of sound mind until they do something that shows they're not of sound mind. Exactly. Excuse me. CC asked, who decides what sound mind is? Exactly. Exactly. You don't know until they demonstrate that they are not of sound mind. Until then, they should be able to own whatever they want to own. And that is why freedom is so dangerous. But I prefer dangerous. Oh shit. Prefer dangerous freedom to peaceful slavery. All right, guys, I'm gonna get on out of here. I'm gonna go hit this gym. Before I I'm gonna go hit the gym. Yeah. Today is upper body day. Chest, back, bicep, triceps. But thank you guys for coming through. Thank you for having this discussion with me. Hopefully, I shed some light on how retarded this idea is. I appreciate that, P. Your actions and your behavior demonstrates a sound mind. But who interprets what these demonstrations mean? Who is going to interpret that? Who is going to decide whether your actions and behavior demonstrate a sound mind? Who makes that determination? There's no two ways to cut it. All right. Thank you, Sister Shaw, for showing up. Thank you, everyone who showed, all of my modificators, all of my moderators, Stray Godzilla, Kent Guard J, Coach Hudson was in the building. Drew Titan was in here. Brother Shelton, Mark Wunderlich stopped by. I think I saw him in here. And everyone, all the new guys, all the new people that showed up. Big shit for dropping that $5 super chat. Salute to you. Thank you to everyone that hit the like button. Petruco Mayo, Douglas Enzor, Kevin Dwyer, J Mark, all you guys. God gives you your potential. Salute to you. Thank you for coming through. Yeah, we gonna get on this later, y'all. All right, if you're transitioning, you are not of sound mind. Again, what makes you determine that? They're making a decision for themselves. See, these people, just before I get out of here, these people that are deciding the transition, they are taking it upon themselves. They are transitioning themselves. They're making the decision to do something for themselves, to themselves, not to anybody else. Right? Whether you agree with it or not, they are deciding to mutilate their body to make it look like something they want it to look like. So that's just like saying anybody that gets a nose job is not mentally sound, or whoever gets a eyebrow lift or a tummy tuck, or a woman who has a little extra pooch after she gives birth. She wants to, maybe she had a C-section and she wants the doctor to suck a little fat out. Is she of sound mind? I mean, see, this is what I'm talking about. It's a slippery slope. Now it's just changing the gender. Again, they're changing their own gender. Brother Stormy B, man, salute to you. They're deciding to change their own gender, not yours. They're changing their own gender. They're doing it to themselves. But the people that go around killing other people are killing other people. They are violating other people. But not everyone that's transgender is going to do that. You get what I'm saying? So being okay with a ban that prohibits transgenders from owning guns, again, is a problem, whether you agree with the lifestyle or not. So it is what it is. Anyway, much love, like, share, subscribe, and we're going to keep marching forward toward freedom. Y'all go out there and train, get fit, you know what I'm saying? Get your cardio, sure you stay on point. Peace.